Hi everybody, welcome to the aoe2 AI scripting tutorial number 8. In this video we're going to have a look at building drop sites, farms and researching feudal. We're going to have a look at the villager resource priorities. Also we're going to see how we regulate the villager distribution and make build orders, which will be very interesting, I think. With each section that we start in the video, I will mark the corresponding line in the agenda red. This was, I think it was Marcus Pontius's idea, so viewers can better follow the structure of the videos. So we will start with A, building drop sites, farms and researching feudal. We have our little programming here, setting up scouting and training villagers and building houses. First drop site that we may need is a mill. So build a mill. What do we need to check? Building type count total mill equals 0. Also resource found food. What does resource found do? We will have a look at the computer player strategy builder guide, resource found and a resource type. This fact checks whether the computer player has found a given resource. The facts should be used at the beginning of the game. Once it becomes true for a certain resource, it stays true for that resource. In this context, food refers to a forage site and wood refers to forest trees, not single trees or lone trees. Okay. So we'll try and build a mill at forage bushes. Can build mill. Remember, always a can build, can train and can research. We will use an OR boolean, which we saw in the last video. Building type count total house is greater than nil. And we want to build a mill after we are certain that it's built its house. Of course, if you are the Huns, you don't have houses, and to not have blocks or bugs, we have to put an OR in, otherwise it won't build a mill if you are the Huns. Build mill. We will program the other drop sites and test it afterwards. Next step rule is we're going to build lumber camp. Alrighty. So first thing, we have to build one if we don't have one yet. I also want to build one if I know I've got a mill. That's why building type count total mill is greater than 0. Never forget, can build and of course our new fact, resource found wood. If we forget this fact, the resource found wood fact, it might build a lumber camp anywhere before finding a suitable forest. Build lumber camp. Okay. Next drop site we will already program is the mining camp. Okay, so building type count, and I could have just copy paste all this. Mining camp, we don't have one yet. We want to build a mining camp after we got a lumber camp. Of course, we don't want to build a mining camp anywhere, only once it's found gold. And we forgot one of the most important facts: can build mining camp. This will reduce the number of bugs. The can build function. Build mining camp. Okay. If we don't have building type count total equals 0, it will keep building new mills, lumber camps, mining camps all game long, which we don't want unless it's controlled, which we will look at in future videos. Next thing we want to do, we're going to surge ahead, is build farms. When do we want to build farms? Well, when the civilian population is greater than or equal to 10. Building type count farm is smaller than, for instance, 4, say. This means that it will build 4 farms to start off with, and we want it to build the farms after it has built the lumber camp. Can build farm, build farm. Of course, 4 farms won't be enough. We want more farms further in the game. So we have to make a rule. Building type count the number of farms once it's greater than or equal to 4. We want to keep the rule in lumber camps. We still want to have a lumber camp before having farms. And we use a new fact: idle farm count is smaller than 1. What does idle farm count do? Let's have a look at the computer player strategy guide. Idle farm count. This fact checks a computer player's idle farm count, the number of farms with no farmers. It should be used before a new farm is built to make sure it is needed. Indeed, so this rule will count if there aren't any idle farms, then it will build a farm if it can build farms. Next, what we will do is research feudal age. Now, research feudal age, there's a trick to it, or what you would call a mistake, a possible mistake that you can make if you don't do this correctly. Mainly, I'm going to put this def rule before the can train villager. Can research feudal age. Research feudal age. Why do I put it before can train villager? Obviously, we know the script is read from top to bottom, as we know. If the can research feudal age is put after the villager, can train villager, it will keep training villagers. and never research feudal age. So can research feudal age, research feudal age. If it can't, it will train a villager. If it can't, it will research loom. This is the order that we want a town centre to produce in. Now we can put extra conditions with the can research feudal age. We will use another or, like we learnt last week. Unit type count total villager is greater than or equal to 29. That means a pop of 30 with the scouts. Or players current age and the enemy greater than dark age. So what does this rule do? If it can research feudal age, it will. If either we have 30 pop to go up, for instance to do a fast castle or whatever, or we want to speed things up if we detect that an enemy has gone up very early. We want to, of course, not postpone, go into feudal age. We want to follow. This is an example of how you can research feudal age. Okay, we will try this out and see if there are any bugs. No bugs. Set up scouting, villages plus scout. Found livestock, stop exploring with villages. It's starting to build a house like we programmed. Also a mill near the forage bushes, because we put in the resource found food, and in the computer player strategy builder guide it stated that resource found means forage bushes. Now it will keep building houses. It will try and build a lumber camp once we got 100 wood, and it should have found this forest without a problem. We see the villagers are working. We'll just go through this scenario. This is a random map, Arabia, and a random civ I chose. Once your scout, in this case an eagle scout, found sheep, it will send the sheep to your food drop sites. And your villagers keep working. And of course, we will not get 100 wood because they keep feeding. Anyway, the mill building worked. We need, of course, build orders to chop wood. Nearly forgot about that. Building drop sites. We built a mill, a lumber camp. Is on the agenda. Building mine, farms, more farms. Did we? Oh yeah, but we don't have enough wood. And feudal. Yeah, that's to test later. Quiz question number 1. Using the computer player strategy builder guide. What's the difference between these facts, and give an example to demonstrate the difference? Building type count, building relative operator and value. A value is an integer. Building type count total, building relative operator value. Email or Discord me privately the answer before the 4th of July 2020, and I will post your alias or name together with the answer in the next tutorial video number 9. Quiz question 1. Let's go to section B, villager resource priorities. Now we know that villagers are workaholics because they start gathering and exploring even without any code. As we saw here, they started on the food. We're going to do an experiment on a map where we've got 4 resources. You see stone, wood, forage, bushes and gold. And of course our 100 villages, you remember from another tutorial video experiment with the scouting. To make this work, unfortunately, first we have to comment temporarily our programming, otherwise it will start doing all other stuff. And we will comment out this and this because we don't want villagers exploring. What we want to see is we've got 100 villagers. We want to see to which resources do they go to. We will restart. Forager 100, so they all go foraging 100%. That's interesting. So we know that food has a highest priority because all the villagers went to food. I went along and deleted the food to see what the villagers will do now. Lumberjacks 100. So we see after food, wood is the next priority. Again, after the food, I've deleted the wood to see to which resource they will go to. Anybody dare to guess? I will give it 2 seconds to see if anybody on the live chat wants to give a guess. Okay, let's see. 100% of the villagers go to stone. Honestly said, I guessed before experimenting this that they would all go to gold. That's what makes these experiments interesting. I've now deleted the stone. Just to be completely scientific, there's only one resource left. We expect them now to go to gold. And indeed you see 100% of the villagers go to gold. We did the test of the 4 resources. 100% of the villagers first went to food. We deleted the food, they went to the wood. We deleted the wood, they went to stone. We deleted the stone, they went to the gold. The conclusion of this test is that we know the priorities of the villagers without any programming. They will first try and gather food, then wood, then stone, then gold. I also started testing the different food resource type priorities for villagers, not ships, including livestock, deer, boar, forage, bushes, shore fish and farms. Did I forget anything? I've been testing food resource distance to drop sites and testing food resource availability itself. I've already come to some conclusions, which is not for this video, because the conclusions are unexpected and the algorithm seems more complex than I first thought. More tests are needed, and this might be for tutorial video number 9, but that's not a promise. I also would like to ask any ideas of the community and viewers. Thanks already to Marathon 16 and Cheese on Toast for the preliminary inputs they've discorded me, which brings some new ideas and confirms some other observation and tests I've been doing. We will now see how we set up the villager distribution. Total resource percentage equals 100. We will see what this means. We will introduce some new strategic numbers. SN food gatherer percentage, SN wood gatherer percentage, SN stone gatherer percentage, and SN gold gatherer percentage. We will first go back to the four resource scenario. We will start with some tests. I've already prepared the script. Def rule true. We will have a look at the facts later. Set strategic number. SN gold gatherer percentage, food gatherer percentage, wood gatherer percentage, stone. Where the X's, we will start with putting each at 25. Don't forget to save. Disable self when setting strategic numbers, especially gathering percentages, so villagers don't continuously retask unnecessarily. We restart. And what do we see? 25% go to the forage bushes, 25% are lumberjacks, 25% start mining gold, and 25% start mining stone, which is what we've set and what we expected. The next test will be by setting food at 40, wood at 30, stone at 10, and gold at 20, as long as the totals 60, 90, 100 is the sum. We've saved. Hopefully it gives the results we want. $40 on food, 30 on wood, 20 on gold, and 10 on stone. This is what we programmed. This is excellent news. This means we can start with build orders. We will just block comment this for the moment. And we know with the villager priorities that they start on food. If they can't find food, they'll go on wood. So the first build order instruction could be unit type count total villager is greater or equal to 10. I'll just copy paste. Set strategic number of food to 60 and that of wood to 40. Don't forget to disable self to avoid unnecessary continuous retasking. A build order contains more than one step, so we're going to put in the next step. The next step of the build order will be when we have 30 villages, for instance. We want to also start mining gold. So we have to set strategic number of gold, and we have to see that the sum equals 100. So we'll put 55% on food, 35% on wood, and if I've calculated correctly, 10% go on gold. Okay. Save. Disable self. All right. Yeah, this is what we program. We also will notice that the villagers retask themselves not immediately, but normally after dropping off resources. So we'll check that out. We have to uncomment all the other programming to see that the other building stuff will work. So we uncomment this, and with the scouting we uncomment this. We've saved. Okay, tutorial AI. Arabia, yeah. So that villager starts building a house. These will start scouting till they found livestock. They found forage bushes, so it will already start building a mill. It found sheep, so they stop exploring. They will gather berries first while the sheep come back to a drop site. Building another house. So the first villagers, as we expected, all gather food if food is available, because not of the programming but because of the villager priorities. It's only when we have 10 villagers, we're now at 8 villagers, 9 population. It's when we got 10 villagers, 40% of the villagers will start going to wood. And now we have 9 villagers, 10 villagers, and indeed they start going to the wood. I thought first there was a bug because it started building farms and I didn't see a lumber camp. I thought we programmed before to build farms that it had to have a lumber camp. I went to check the coding. It was in the code. What I didn't see was the lumber camp is here. It was hiding. So everything is working how it should. 60% on food, 40% on wood. They will only start getting gold once we have 30 villagers. And it started building a mining camp. As we have programmed that it had to build a mining camp once it's found resource gold, once it can build a mining camp, and once we have reached 20 villagers, which we have. It will also keep adding farms. If there is less than one farm idle, some villages might start getting deer. Of course, the AI isn't working at full efficiency. That will come with more future videos and more programming, of course, because it won't make the 30 pop advance to feudal. But we do see that the build order has changed. Namely, it starts mining gold. I'll just wait till the builder goes away. Building another house. Okay, so we got 32 villagers, 31 villagers, a 32nd on the way. I have made a table. This is a tip. Use Excel to calculate build order percentages. Can be one vil difference because of rounding. we should be around 17 on food, 11 on wood, and 3 on gold. Maybe 18 on food, depending if it's calculated the villager. If we count the number on food, we see 7 farmers, 8 hunters, which makes 15, 2 shepherds, which makes 17, 11 lumberjacks, and 3 gold miners. That's exactly according 17, 11, 3 according to the table. The villager distribution is working perfectly. It will keep creating villages until it has enough food to go up to feudal, which should be now, as we're over 500, and indeed it has clicked up. Of course, not very efficiently. Of course, the code isn't perfect, but this is a start of a very, very basic and a very, I would say, stupid AI. Next, what we will see is the villager distribution percentages when they're greater than 100. That means I add up more than 100, or if they're less than 100. This will interest more experienced scripters in the community, but is also interesting for new scripters. What I have to do is we have to go back to our experiment, which means we have to comment our coding or start a new AI. But we have to see that the villagers don't go and scout like this. So we go to section E in this tutorial video, villager distribution when the total resource percentage is greater than 100. Okay. First we will test the 100 to see that everything is working as it should. (40, 30, 20, 10). Excellent. First experiment. We will try and deduce what happens. What if we set each resource at 40%? We know the priorities are food, wood, stone, and gold. So we set each at 40%. I will order it in the order of priorities, like that. Food, wood, stone, and gold. Save. Let's see what happens. You can guess, will it put like 40 on food, 40 on wood, and then the other 20 on stone? Will it divide the villages between the 4 resources equally according to what's available in villager numbers? We shall see. We see 25, 25, 25, 25 on each resource. We see that if the total is larger than 100 and all the percentages are equal, it will divide the villages between the resources equally. What if, for instance, we set gold and wood at 50, stone and food each at 25? The total is 150. Anybody guess what the distribution will be? 17, 33, 33, 17. So basically we can say that because wood is double than food, the number of villagers on wood is double that of food. That means it counts all these figures together and divides by the total to get the percentage. Next experiment, we set the food at 250, gold and wood each at 50, and the stone at 25. Question will be, will the number on food will be 5 times greater than the one on wood and 10 times greater than the one on stone? We will see. We see that the number of villagers on food is double that on wood, which is double that of stone. There can always be one villager difference because of rounding. But what does this mean? This means, if I analyze this correctly, that the 250% set for food is capped at 100%. 100%, which is double that of gold, and which is at 50%, which is double that of stone, which is set at 25%. This means we come at the following formula, which I've deduced with these experiments and other experiments. We define SM percentage as a percentage at which the strategic number resource is set for each resource. That if the strategic number percent is greater than 100, the actual strategic number is set to 100. Otherwise, the strategic percent actual is the percentage at which the strategic number is set. This is done for each resource. That the actual percentage which is taken into account for each resource strategic number. The total percent is then the sum for each resource of the actual percentage which is taken into account for each resource, and the villager percentage or distribution is the actual strategic number percent which is taken into account divided by the total percentage times 100%, of course. To make an example, maybe the formula or the deduction of the formula will become more clear. We will do a test, calculate it first, and see if the result is the expected result. So what we'll do is we put food at 125, wood at 150, stone at 50, and gold at 25. We save. This means that the actual percentage which is taken into account to calculate further is food 100, wood 100, gold 25, stone 25. The total of these percentages is 275. This means that 100 for food divided by the total times, of course, 100 equals 36,36, rounded 36. The same for wood, also 36, even though that wood is 150 and food is 125. We're expecting the same number of villages for food and wood. Gold, 25 divided by 275 is 9. Stone, 50 divided by 275 times 100 equals 18. with one villager left surrounding, and that one villager is placed unpredictably. I've already done some tests. I can't find an answer to where it puts that villager yet. Maybe the community has some ideas. Anyway, we will see that the other 99 are put as we expected. So we got our 4 resources. And we see food and lumberjacks each 36 as we as expected. The one villager has gone to gold mining, which has 10 instead of 9, and stone miners 18 like we have calculated. About the unpredictable villager, first I thought it would go to the resource with the highest priority, but this isn't the case because gold is lower priority than stone. Then I thought the unpredictable villager will go to the resource with the least number of percentage, but I've changed the percentages around, and this doesn't seem to be true. Also, the roundings and stuff. So I don't know where the one villager, why it goes to gold. That's the only thing I haven't deduced yet. We'll have a look at villager distribution. Total resource percentage is smaller than 100. This was actually quite interesting and unpredictable. We know the priorities are food, wood, stone and gold. We will start with setting gold at 10 and all the others at 0. What will it do? Will it put all the villages on gold? Will it put 10% of the villages on gold and the rest on food as highest priority? Will it spread them out? Whatever, we will see what happens. A 100% of the villages go to gold, which seems the first conclusion is on a standalone, all the villages go to that resource. What if we set all to 10%? Now we know when the total was more than 100%, it would distribute the villager equally over all resources. I'm expecting the same when setting every resource to 10%, that it will distribute the villagers evenly with a similar formula. Lumberjack 16, gold miners 16, stone miners 16 and foragers 52. The only thing we can conclude is that for wood, gold and stone the number is equal, and a lot more have gone to food, which is the highest priority resource. So what if we set, for instance, wood and gold each at 100%? This is because we know that food is the highest priority. That's why I've chosen 0% for that. Will it give the same result as stone or something different? And will wood give the same result as gold? 82 go to wood, 18 goes to gold. What if 0 on food, 10, 10, 10 on gold, stone and wood? Gold and stone are the same. Wood 66. We can conclude that the most villages go to the resource with the highest priority. To confirm this, we will now put nil on wood. We're expecting most of the villages to go to stone. How many? We don't know that yet. Yeah, most villages go to stone. But very unpredictable numbers. What if we set 5, 10, 15 and 20? We see food, lumberjacks, stone miners, and then a bulk sum of villages on gold. This leads to the conclusion that a lot of villages which aren't distributed, a bulk of them go to the resource with the highest percentage. But it's not all the villages that are not accounted for in this percentage, because there are more, for instance, more villages on food than 5. There's more villages on wood than 10. We will do another experiment. 10, 10, 20, 20. We will see what happens. We will see there's equal numbers on food and on wood, double that many on gold, as that percentage is double, and stone and gold, which are both set at 20%. Stone has a higher priority than gold, gets an extra bulk number of villages. These seem very unpredictable numbers. In the last experiment, we put food at 10%, wood at 10%, stone at 20%, gold at 20%, and this gave the resulting villager distribution 14, 14, 44 and 28, which totals 100, of course. Now we will see how I deduced the formula for the villager distribution when the total percentage is less than 100. So we have a total of 100 vills, which means 10% of 100 is 10, 10% of 100 is 10, 20 and 20. This means that 60 are used, 40 left over. We see the 40 left over, suddenly a connection, because the result was 14, the percentage is 10, 14 equals the original 10 plus again 10% of what's left over. 4, 4, 8, 8. 20% of 40 is 8. This will already account for 3 of the 4 distribution. That's 8, 16, 24. 24 used, 16 rest, I'll call it. This 16 rest is put at the resource with the highest percentage and has the highest priority if there's more than one with the same percentage. If we add 20 to 8, 28, 38, 44, we see where the 44 for stone comes from. This is what I calculated. This is a formula I deduced when the percentage is smaller than 100, meaning that the villager number is a percentage of the total of vills available plus the percentage of the vills left. What are the vills left? That's the total of villager number minus for each resource vill number percentage taken off. That actually should be like this. Plus the highest percentage, and if more than one has the same highest percentage, the highest priority will get the last bulk of villagers. To make another example, we do a villager distribution test. Now first we will work it out mathematically and then we will program it in. I chose randomly some numbers which Excel actually generated for me. 2% for food, 8% for stone, wood 15%, and then I chose gold also 15%, just to test the hypothesis that the bulk of the vills at the end will go to wood, which is the resource with the highest priority. With the 100 villagers, 2% is 2, 15% is 15, 8, 15. That totals 40, which means that 60 vills are left. 2% of 60 is 1.2, 15% of 60 is 9, 8% of 60 is 4.8, and 15% of 60 is also 9, of course, which gives, if you count all this together and you take that of the 60, you have 36 left, because 9 and 9 is 18, plus 5 is 23, 24, 60 minus 24 is 36. We expect that wood would get this last bonus number of villagers, meaning what we are expecting is food 3 villagers, wood 60, stone 13, and gold 24. It might differ a villager because of these roundings. I'm expecting 1.2 is 1 and 4.8 is 5. So we program in these percentages. Food, wood, stone, and gold. We save, and I hope this is correct. What do we expect? 3 on food, 60 on wood, 24 on gold, and 13 on stone. 3, 60, 24, 13. Let's see. Wat dat demonstrandum?